This is the Hollywood Outsider, a weekly movie and TV podcast with a new episode every Thursday. This is episode 141, and this week we are discussing upcoming releases including Godzilla and $1 Million Arm. I almost did my Godzilla yell for a second, sorry.
Oh, thank God you didn't.
Spoiler-free reviews of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Neighbors. Our From the Outside In topic this week, what makes a great monster movie and what our favorites are. Latest in movie and TV news as always, including our own trivia segment. My name is Aaron Peterson, and with me today are my fellow hosts, Scotty Clark.
Episode 140, how are you?
141. Awesome. 141. Just because it says 140 doesn't mean I'm wrong. Don't
trust the format,
Never.
Obviously. We should have learned this by now.
I've learned that in 140 episodes.
Brian Williams.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
And Justin Mocumber.
What is up?
Oh, man. It has been a week. What's new with you guys? Anything exciting? Anyone?
I saw a bunch of movie stars as well. I guess that's a debatable term, but...
Well, here comes inevitable name dropping.
Well, I went to the Texas Frightmare weekend and hung out with my buddies, Linda Hamilton and Linda Blair and Michael Biehn and George Romero. Yep. That was my weekend.
Is it pronounced Biehn? Is it actually pronounced that way?
Michael Biehn is how I always have heard it pronounced.
Yeah, I've always heard it Bean.
How did
Biehn.
How did he pronounce it?
He didn't. He was just kind of sitting there grumpily.
He just walks around and talks. Hi, I'm Michael Biehn. Michael Biehn thinks this is awesome. Michael Biehn says hello.
Linda Hamilton, though, so sweet, so nice. Michael Biehn, yeah, he just kind of sat there, took the money, signed his name, and then that was about the extent of it.
Was she wearing like a wife beater and her hair in a ponytail? Because that would
no,
be
she was not.
That's a ripoff, if I ever heard one.
Christina Loken was there, though, the girl who played the Terminatrix in the third film.
Ooh, how did she look up close?
Oh, my God. She is a tall drink of water.
Did you say... What's that?
She was also Blood Rain.
That's right. She also played Blood Rain in that Uwe Boll piece of shit. But yeah, she is tall and still very, very pretty.
It's sad that her repertoire is those two movies. She's got one, all right, fairly decent movie, and then Blood Rain.
Two of them.
It was a cool weekend. Met a lot of people, got some stuff signed. But getting my Exorcist Blu-ray DVDs or Blu-ray signed by Linda Blair was really kind of exciting.
Did you ask her to spew pea soup all over you? Because that was
awesome.
Because
I'm sure she's heard that a million times, and Probably. I don't want to be that guy.
How about, did you ask her to curse at you?
No, but one of the people in line asked if she would write down "Your mother sucks cocks in hell." Carrot. She did.
Did she?
She wrote it.
Oh, I already like her now.
I kind of wish I'd have thought of it.
I would have just walked up to her with a crucifix, laid it down, and said, "You know what to do."
Wow.
I'd be like, "Hey, my name is Jesus. I heard we got something planned."
My name's Jesus.
Yeah, but it was fun. My brother and I had a really good time.
That sounds like a lot of fun. All right, let's get on to movie news. 24 Live Another Podcast is out, and you can find it at thehollywoodoutsiders.com/24. And at the end of this episode, we're actually going to play the interview that Justin and I were able to take part in with Jack Bauer himself, Kiefer Sutherland. So hopefully you guys are going to like that. We're basically stealing an episode from that show and putting it on this show so you can get a taste of that show. Maybe you'll go over to the other show. What do you think?
Huh? I'm confused.
It's really good. You guys are, you'll enjoy it. Matt Damon continues to say he's open to returning to Jason Bourne, and series producer Frank Marshall would like to pit Bourne with Aaron Cross, the new franchise starring Jeremy Renner. Do you think he should just let this go, or do you eventually want to see Matt Damon come back?
No.
I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah, same here.
Really?
Moved on.
Yeah. I'm not like a huge fan of the movies anyway, and when just an actor says, yeah, that'd be kind of cool, that doesn't seem like have a whole lot of clout to it.
I mean, it's not like you can be gone from a movie or two and think you can Vin Diesel your way back into the franchise. I think he did what he needed to do. He did his 3 movies. He's done. Now let Renner or whatever else move it forward. I think there's plenty of other movies and things he can be doing. He doesn't need to come back to a franchise that just kind of moved on without him.
You heard it, Matt. You heard it here. So stop it.
Matt, hey, no, I'm not hating.
Yeah, Matt, there's plenty of other stuff out there on your table. I'm sure, leave Jason Bourne behind and Move
Yeah,
on.
we bought a zoo too. Think about it. That could be great.
We bought another zoo.
We bought an aquarium.
Also, the Spider-Man spoiler cast, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is out. So if you want to hear us, I don't want to say pick apart the movie, but we definitely went after some parts of it. We did like it, but we went after a few parts of it.
I would say we definitely picked it apart.
Oh, well, it was good. It was entertaining. Beverly Hills Cop 4 is officially scheduled for 2016. And today, word came that Lionsgate is doing a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. The Flintstones are making a new animated movie. Are we trying way too hard for nostalgia right now?
I think we've been trying way too hard for nostalgia for about 10 years now.
Do you guys want to see all this stuff come back? Any of them?
I never wanted to see Power Rangers to begin with.
Oh, thank you. God.
What is the appeal of that one? I don't get that one.
I think you have to be like 20 and younger for it to mean something.
I remember being excited for it when it first came out, and I watched a half of an episode and went, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, and I never watched it again. I think it was like 14 when it came out.
Beverly Hills Cop 4 I'm kind of interested in, only because I loved Eddie Murphy, and I would like to see him get back to what he used to do so well as opposed to wearing fat suits.
That's
so
true.
If this will get him there, then great. But as for these other movies, no. Just I don't personally feel the overwhelming need for them.
I seriously think that a Beverly Hills Cop fit very well in its time period. I think if you do that movie now, it's going to feel too 80s. Does that make sense?
It could.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, what are you going to do, like a dubstep version of Axel F?
Yeah. You know they will. They tried, it was Beverly Hills Cop 3 when they did that horrible rendition of Axel Foley that still haunts my dreams.
Was it a rap or something?
No, it was just, they actually made that song seem more 80s than the original song already was. If that's possible.
They just added more synth tracks over it.
Something, man. It was awful. Awful. And then who thought putting Axel Foley in an amusement park was going to be badass? I want to meet the guy that thought that was a good plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof, let's put this badass foul-mouthed cop in a kiddie park. Boy, won't that be funny? The people will eat that up. He could say fuck around a 12-year-old. Woohoo.
Well, I do that.
You want more proof that China's buying America one movie theater at a time. Now that, Brian, help me out.
Wah-ding.
Thank you. Awards. China's Oscars are going to be held in Hollywood. The China Oscars are going to be held in Hollywood. How do you feel about international cinema coming here, B?
I'm not going to go on a rant because I don't want to sound like some Glenn Beck conspiracy theorist type stuff. But
I'm good.
But everybody's got such a big butt. This is sorry.
Look at her butt.
What the hell just happened?
Oh my God, Becky!
Why did Sir
That was more of a
Mix-a-Lot
Pee
show
Wee
up?
Herman reference than a Sir Mix-a-Lot. Sorry.
Oh, it plays either way.
I think that was a Baby Got Back reference, if I'm not mistaken.
It was all over the place. Go ahead.
Now, one more reason that China's owning. They own what is it? AMC. Mm-hmm. Chinese owners own AMC. They've got banks over here now. Now they're, I don't know, merging Hollywood and China's version of Hollywood. I'm just telling you, they're getting a foothold, and it's instead of storming our shores with a bunch of soldiers, they're doing it with movies.
It's just the slow march to Tiananmen Square.
That's it. So we're all going to be where we're at.
Is that really the worry, though? I mean, is that a
Look, at
legitimate
this pace,
concern?
yeah, it's going to be, many years down the road, I'll probably be gone by then. But
It's a little weird that they would have their awards here. I mean, I realize that Hollywood, our movies are actually the majority of their income over there, their box office over there. But it just seems odd. I mean, the only reason I can think of is because they're slowly but surely incorporating into our everyday lives. And I think everyone should learn Mandarin. Just take it up, kids. Stop taking Spanish. You don't need that shit. Take Mandarin.
Or Cantonese. One of the two.
Cantonese works.
Spanish is so 90s.
Yeah, and German's
try
getting you
Mandarin.
nowhere.
Well, imagine if it were reversed, and instead of the Chinese Oscars being here, imagine if our Oscars were in China. Even as an
They
American, that would.
They're all over the freaking world.
Yeah.
But see, even that would still not be as weird as the other way around. They are having their their Oscars here, and I'm sure it's going to be televised, on our, over here. So who's going to watch it?
I think that's how they get the spies in. That's what happens. They have the awards here, and they get a few of them out, and then eventually they're going to be in government, and then that's how it all topples.
That's
It's
it.
like like Argo of the 2000s.
Or a Trojan horse. It's a Trojan horse.
First it was Schwarzenegger, now it's going to be the Chinese.
Yep, it's a Trojan dumpling.
So they watched him. That's it. They watched him. They said, okay, here's how we do it. We'll integrate their entertainment stuff.
Entertainment stuff.
Yep. Get popular. And then we'll just take over the politics.
I bet that was in the manual. Entertainment stuff. We got to take over their entertainment stuff and get
That's
our
how it
asses
was
in
sold
there.
to them. Exactly.
All right, let's talk movie stingers, because in movie stinger, those little bits at the end of the movie that people often wait after credits to see. It seems we're getting more and more of them, and like we talked about recently, that they're becoming less and less important. In fact, one recent movie, I'm not going to say what it is, and if you listen to Spoilercast, you'll know. But one movie had a stinger. That,
You don't know what movie, but it's a spoiler cast.
I don't want to say what the movie that it references.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man had a stinger that has nothing to do with the actual Spider-Man. I'm not going to say what that stinger was, but you have to listen to Spoilercast if you want to know that. But they're becoming less and less important because they have nothing to do now with the movies. They're becoming just generic advertisements for a different movie. How do you feel about this?
I don't have a real big issue with it, especially the way some companies do it now, like Marvel. I love the way Marvel is always setting up what they're doing down the road through these little stingers. And they started it right off the bat with Iron Man, with Samuel L. Jackson appearing at the end, playing Nick Fury and talking about the Avengers Initiative. And pretty much on since then, their stingers have revolved around what they're doing next. So I like that. And at this point in time, almost everybody who goes to the movies or to these movies knows those are coming. I mean, sure, there's your few elderly couples that either don't know or don't care, and so they get up and walk out while the rest of the theater continues to sit in their seats. But we know they're coming. We look forward to them, and so I'm glad for those to continue. I really haven't noticed too many stingers for movies outside of the comic book realm these days. If there are some, then people will, need to let us know what they are, unless you guys have some examples. But I like them for the most part, especially if I know they're coming. If I don't and I hear about it afterward, it's kind of a good reason to rent it and maybe give it a watch again. But most of the time they don't amount to much, but occasionally they do. And when they do, that's kind of what makes it all worth it.
The only one I can think of that wasn't a Marvel franchise was Dawn of the Dead, the remake, back in, man, was it like 2002 or something like that? Mm-hmm. Where they basically had an extra scene that played half through the credits and just little snippets, and then an actual scene at the end of the credits that completely changed the ending of the movie, which was awesome. I like that.
Was it awesome or awful? Because no, I'm just saying, if you didn't stay through it, isn't that the real ending of the movie? Shouldn't that? I'm devil's advocate.
I kind of got to agree with Scott. It's almost like like going to a restaurant and knowing they've got a secret menu. You know that you can get the burger animal style instead of just with regular mustard and ketchup or something like that.
What the hell is animal style?
It's an In-N-Out reference.
Okay. Never had that. Sorry.
Those who have eaten at In-N-Out know what I'm talking about. Anyway.
I want to have an animal burger now.
Yeah, occasionally horror movies will do it too, where like after the credits roll, maybe somebody you thought was dead is alive, somebody that you thought was defeated isn't, or this is when the baby bursts from the stomach or whatever. And it's a interesting little bit that they can add to the ending of it. I wish they would have added one to the end of The Mist where he just shoots himself in his face.
No, enough of that. But speaking directly to let's Spider-Man. Let's speak to that movie. Now that could start a trend where you see movies adding stingers to other movies. Ads,
that's
basically.
Bullshit.
That's what I'm asking about. That's what you think?
Bullshit.
Okay.
Now, apparently the reason why that this other thing popped up is it was a deal between the two different studios, because the other movie that's at the end of it is from a completely different studio. The property's not even owned by Sony. So, but to get the director, because he was committed to this other studio, they made a deal with it, said, okay, we'll let you have him for this movie if you promote this movie. It was a contract thing. It's not so much we're just putting this at the end of it. It had to do with getting permission to use the director.
I get that. But if it's successful, they're going to do more of it. How do you guys feel about if more movies did that? If they advertised another one of their movies with a stinger? Because, it's just like an extra trailer that they can stick in
I don't want it. I don't want it. I'll watch it, I'll watch a trailer on the internet, or I'll watch it, before another movie, or even on a Blu-ray or something. But I don't want to sit there for 5 or 10 minutes as they're watching these credits roll up.
Just to get another trailer. Just to get another trailer,
right? If I'm going to sit there that long to watch it, then I'm going to. I want it to be maybe something humorous. It may be an outtake, maybe a blooper, a small gag reel, or something like that, or something like in Avengers fashion, where it's something setting up something down the road.
Or it's Ferris Bueller telling you to go home.
Yeah,
that was cute.
Yeah,
that was cute. Why are you still here? Go
like
home.
All right, well, so we've got that decided. If it has to do with the movie, it stays. If it's an ad for another movie, it goes. If it's funny, it always stays. All right,
That's right.
Got it. Now, Scotty, Sam Rockwell and Anna Kendrick are going to star in the exact same movie together called Mr. Right. These are two of your favorite people in the whole wide world. Is that just like heaven and a rapper for you?
Well, I love both actors, obviously, but at the same time, man, that story seems just like been there, done that to me.
And tell people what the story is.
Well, the story is Anna Kendrick's character is looking for love, and she can't find the right guy, and she finally meets the right guy, and the guy turns out to be like an ex-assassin or hitman, basically. And she's got to deal with that, and they have to help each other out. And I don't know. After, like recently, what was the Cameron Diaz, Tom Cruise movie, Night and Day, and then Killers with Ashton Kutcher and Katherine Heigl. Those are the only two I could think of, and I'm already tired of that concept.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. But do you like the idea of those two together? I mean, what if they just burst into song? Would that be okay?
Does Sam Rockwell sing? I don't even know.
Hell yeah, he does. You ever see Charlie's Angels? He's got rhythm. Yeah.
Anything with Anna Kendrick, and I'm going to at least check it out.
Well, we're going to get it. I like that idea because Sam Rockwell is just so good. He's that guy that just can't get a hit. You know what I mean? No matter what he does, he can't get a hit.
With all that charisma, right, Aaron?
Exactly. Charisma. Yeah, he's even in a huge superhero franchise, and that's like the least liked of the whole bunch. It's sad. That's Iron Man 2, for those that didn't catch it.
Welcome to Brian's Trailer Park. Alrighty, first one out of the gate is basically, it's a prequel. And it's not a movie, it's a TV show. We go way back in time to when meet a wee little boy named Bruce Wayne. And of course, as you know, his parents are killed, all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But what's really cool about it...
Spoiler alert.
No, it actually follows Commissioner Gordon as he's a young lieutenant. Is it lieutenant? Yeah, Lieutenant Gordon. And he's an investigator. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this personally. I was kind of on the fence with this. Justin, I know you don't give a whole lot of new series a shot, first one out of the gate, especially with somebody like Fox. But what'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. I was shocked by just how good it looked. I really like the mood of the piece. I think Gotham as the city looks great. And I like all of the people who are involved in it. Because I anticipated that it would look pretty good and it would be a fairly good show. But judging from just that trailer, it looks like it's going to be head and shoulders above what I thought it was going to be. And, it could be taking comic book shows on TV to maybe a whole new level. But I do like that it is a prequel. I love that all of these villains and heroes involved in it are, not the ones we know of, but much, much earlier versions. And I'm really curious to see how they're going to run this show, if it lasts over multiple seasons. I'll definitely be watching this.
Now, Ben McKenzie is the lead in this, and he's a name I don't think a lot of people know maybe off the top of their head, but he was one of the roles that I remember him mainly in is Southland.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
OC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, those of you who watched CW or whatever might know him from that. But do you think Commissioner Gordon is a strong enough character to revolve a TV series around?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to do a really good job as Lieutenant Gordon. The character has been around for forever and been played by a lot of people, but this may be a definitive Gordon. I really enjoyed what I saw from this trailer, and I've got a lot of confidence in the actors involved, especially him. He looks solid.
It's an interesting perspective, I think, coming from Gordon's side. And it was really cool watching that trailer and just seeing all these villains that you know from either the movies or the comics or that kind of thing, but they look just recognizable enough so that you know who they are, even though you saw the name flash across the screen, or I think they said it audibly. But I gotta say, I'm cautiously optimistic about it just because, and I didn't give it too much of a chance, but man, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was really failed to grab my attention, and I worry about that, but this looks more interesting than that just from the trailer to me.
I don't know. I don't know how you make this and not make it a procedural type, and I don't know if I want a comic book procedural. But the trailer looked interesting. It didn't look like enough to sell me, and I'm kind of with you a little bit, Scott. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. definitely took me back a hair. But there's also Arrow, so I mean, they kind of balance each other out. One I don't like, one I love. So I'll give it a shot. And they ordered it to series off the pilot, so I'm guessing that it must have been received very well.
Visually, it does look very good, much better than I guess than what you might expect. So
yes,
that's got me a little bit optimistic. So I don't know. I'll wait till a little bit more. It does come out later this year. I'm not sure exactly when. Is it fall? I wasn't able to.
Oh, yeah, it's fall show. Yep.
Is it a fall show? Okay, so I'm sure we'll be talking about that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do my impersonation of Justin Tsai.
That's good.
That was really good.
Yeah,
Is
that's
it? All right.
Oscar
Cool.
worthy.
I mean, I've heard
Chinese
it a lot. I
Oscar.
figure we should all just about have it down pat by now. But
You feel
Does it make you feel better or worse? Or that you got it right?
there's a philosophical question for you. The reason why is Melissa McCarthy is back as another campy loser in the movie called Tammy. So she plays a woman who's lost her job and finds out that her husband's been cheating on her. So she hits the road with her foul-mouthed, hard-drinking grandmother, played by Susan Sarandon, which sounds very Thelma and Louise-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe we talked about this a couple months ago when there was maybe a teaser trailer or a.
No, we talked about it before it was before they were shooting it.
Okay, all right. I mean, but it's been a while. But anyway, it does come out July 2nd. Later on this summer. Aaron, what do you think about this? I know you like Melissa McCarthy.
I do. Yeah, you can take your sigh and stick it up your ass. I'm a big Melissa McCarthy fan. I think she's very funny. I think she's very talented. I think her movies always do her justice, but I really like The Heat. The Identity.
Do you think this is Kevin Hartish though? Where
No,
it's almost.
I don't know. I like the concept. Does it seem like she's repeating herself? Yeah, a little bit. But she's so funny, and I really want to see her more in a dramatic role. I think she can really nail it if we're given the opportunity. But I still find her very funny, and I'll be there on opening day. And Susan Sarandon, I love Susan Sarandon. I think it's weird seeing her as a grandma. But
I was going to say, she's not that old, right?
No, she's that old. Yeah.
No, she's that old.
Yeah.
Like gray-headed? I mean, that's a wig, I assume. But
No,
I mean,
she just
Yes.
stayed hotter longer than most people. That's all.
She was born in 46.
Yep. Yeah, do the math, teacher. She ain't spry anymore.
the trailer looks like it's a little forced for the jokes to me. I'm still of the mindset that I like Melissa McCarthy, but I think I would rather see her in the supporting role instead of the lead role. I liked Identity Thief. Mm-hmm. Is that what it was called? That was more of a leading role, and I got tired of her by the end of the movie. Whereas in Bridesmaids, she played the secondary character that was the funniest part of the movie, but because you got her in small doses. Even the story, I'm kind of confused as to what it is. She's a fugitive and she's going around with her grandma. That doesn't seem that funny to me.
Good or bad, there's nobody to blame but her and her husband, because her and her husband wrote the movie and directed it. So, or her husband directed it. So if this is kind of I still think this is kind of a pigeonholing type of thing, or this just seems to me like she's just kind of being placed in this crazy lady box. And
is that typecasting if she wrote the role? If she wrote the role for herself?
Well, it's like she's typecasting herself.
Yeah, she's not. Doesn't seem like she's doing much to really break out of that mold.
Right.
Well, I'm worried that she's becoming the female Kevin James, who basically plays the same kind of character in everything that she does.
Yeah, Danny
and
McBride.
I hate it because I think that she's a talented actress. I think she's a talented comedian, and I would like to see her elevate her game a bit. But whether it's through her own actions or biases within Hollywood, she just seems to be in this niche of playing the silly, stupid woman character. And I think she's better than that.
I still want to see her do a drama. But I'll tell you what, everybody thought The Heat was going to be a one-note character, and I thought it was a lot deeper than that. So I guess I'm against the three of you. I think she's very talented.
I don't think nobody's disagreeing with you as far as her talent. Everybody, all of us want to see
I think
her.
this movie looks good. I think it looks funny.
Okay.
I guess maybe, Aaron, to make it more similar to maybe what you've thought about another actor, she's kind of becoming a female Danny McBride. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you kind of feel like he's this one-note guy.
That's so funny, but Danny McBride has no talent. So you can't really compare
well, okay, we're not going to get into who's got talent. But the thing is you constantly pick on Danny McBride because you feel like he's taking the same kinds of roles and just playing the same character over and over again. I think that's what she's starting to do. I would like to see her fix that before she gets too far down that road.
I see what you guys are saying.
All right. Well, check out these trailers and a lot more at thehollywoodoutsider.com. You can reach us a number of ways. Easiest way is call us at 818-81-IMAHO. That's 818-814-6246. Of course, you can email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Go on to facebook.com/The Hollywood Outsider. Like us, message us, tweet us at @H_outsider. And of course, you can get your I'm a Ho t-shirts at thehollywoodoutsider.com.
And we've got two movies to review. The first one is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which you can hear a lot more about. It's on the spoiler cast. But for right now, just review the movie. Scott and Brian. Well, I saw it too, but I'm going to abstain. So it's Scott and Brian.
Well, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the second installment of the rebooted franchise. And this one has Peter Parker even more comfortable as the infamous Spider-Man. He's now dating Gwen Stacy from the first movie, even though her father warned him to stay away from her, and she's now fully aware of his extracurricular activities fighting crime. But in this movie, he's actually reunited with his old friend Harry Osborn, who's now inherited Oscorp, and he's also forced to face a new enemy in the electrified supervillain Electro, while also learning about the truth about what happened to his parents several years ago. And if I speak any more of the story, we might delve into spoiler territory, and if you want to hear more of that, I would recommend going to the spoiler cast. So I won't say a whole much more about the plot, because I don't want to give anything away, but it is no secret that the film has more than one villain attached to it. Now, Brian, I know we've discussed how previous installments of Spider-Man films have suffered from villain overload. Was this a problem for you in this film, and what do you think of the story as a whole?
At the risk of maybe giving away a little too much, it doesn't necessarily have too many villains per se. Maybe too many plot lines. So there's a lot to keep up with. That was a little bit distracting for me, I should say. I guess did that work for you? Did you think it was maybe a little too much of something, whether it was villains or plots or
I had less problem with it than you guys did. I think honestly, I felt entertained through the majority of the film. There were a lot of loose ends, lots of different stories. It felt kind of exhausting, but to me, it was entertaining. Some of the elements could be kind of sticky or kind of silly and convoluted, I guess is kind of the way that you guys have described it. But at the same time, I'm remembering that I'm watching a movie about a guy who gains superhero powers by getting bitten by a radioactive spider. So I can take some of that suspension of disbelief a little bit, and maybe that might be because I'm not as attached to the comic books like you guys are. You know, I've never read them, and to me this is just on a movie on its own that I don't have any tie to. What I will say about the film that I really liked was honestly the love story. I know that we get kind of tired of superhero movies being about the damsel in distress and the hero's got to save the girl or whatever, but this had a genuine love story that I really appreciated. I don't remember watching a superhero or comic book movie where I felt moved by the love story. I enjoyed that, and even though there were multiple villains and lots of different storylines, I think that they used the right amount of time on each. You don't have these long, drawn-out battles or scenes. They felt the right amount of time, even though there was a lot going on. I felt it tied it up kind of nice, even though it was a little bit messy. So,
well, I counted, like I think 6 or 7 different stories going on. I felt like that you could probably cut out at least 2 or 3 of those in the movie, and focused a little bit more on something like the emotion, the like you say, the love story was very good. The emotion with that was probably some of the most emotion I felt in any comic book movie.
It really was.
So, I mean, that was something I really enjoyed about it. And there's a few other things, but I think I just felt like there was a little too much. They were trying to cram too much into 2.5 hours. And I felt at least 2 of the sort of subplots could have been cut out and you never would have missed a beat.
That is fair. I think you could have trimmed quite a bit, or even saved some of the info for the third movie or something like that.
Let me just interject. Parent subplot, stupid. That's all I got to say.
Well, yeah, and it made some interesting points, but
nope.
It
Stupid.
felt kind of like a reach on it, and I get that. So, but outside of the story, I mean, we're a little bit split there. But let's talk about the acting a little bit. Obviously, Andrew Garfield. This is the second time reprising the role of Peter Parker in Spider-Man. How do you like him as Spider-Man? How do you like him as Peter Parker? Do you feel the same about both characters? What's your take on it, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he is the quintessential Spider-Man at this point. I think, like as I mentioned in the spoiler cast there, to me personally, he is as much as Spider-Man as Christopher Reeve was Superman, Christian Bale was Batman.
Sure.
That Hugh Jackman was Wolverine. I mean, he just owns that role as much as any of them.
I will agree with you in that I think he owns the role as Spider-Man, especially when he's doing the funny quips and making all these comments, that kind of thing. I'm not in love with him as Peter Parker just for the sheer fact that I think he's almost too cool to be Peter Parker. To me, Peter Parker's always kind of that nerdy, can't talk to people kind of person, and he kind of was that, but he looks too pretty, for lack of a better term. He's got gorgeous hair. I'll admit, I'm not ashamed to say it. What about Emma Stone? Because I personally really enjoy seeing her on screen. I think with a typical secondary role with a female role, you usually get that like damsel in distress, like I said earlier. I felt like she wasn't really playing that in this role, and she was playing a more central part to the story than just someone that Spider-Man's got to rescue. Do you agree? Yeah,
she was definitely more aggressive, probably the most aggressive damsel in distress, if you will. She basically bullied her way into her precarious situations. She had a lot more strength than some of your typical love interests has. I like her, and the chemistry between her and Andrew Garfield is top notch. Again, it's another one of those things I don't really think you've seen in any other comic book movie. So that was a huge plus for the movie. I'm just not as big of an Emma Stone fan as I think a lot of people are. It's not that I don't like her. She's a great actress. I'm not knocking her skills. I just don't. A lot of people have latched onto her around Zombieland or so, and I just wasn't one of those people.
Now, you're a bigger fan of the comics than I am, obviously. How did Jamie Foxx do with Max Dillon and Electro?
I think he did probably as good as he was written for.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel.
I think I liked him as Max Dillon. I would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more. And I think this is kind of where, if you would have cut out some of the weird other stories, for example, the parents, if you would have cut out some of that other stuff, I think, and gave a little bit more attention to him, so that I could probably care or understand or empathize, whatever the case is, with his character more, then that would have been more beneficial, I think, to maybe appreciating the Electro character a little bit more.
Pretty much agree with you 100%. I think the biggest surprise for me was seeing Dane DeHaan in this film, who plays Harry Osborn. And for those that aren't familiar with the actor, he played in the movie Chronicle as pretty much the lead role, and that was kind of his breakout role, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I could not take my eyes off him whenever he was even in like a board meeting or something. He just was very interesting to look at, even if he does look a little bit like Leonardo DiCaprio. What do you think?
He does. Yeah, I thought it was a good choice. He was one of those that kind of had some pretty high hopes for. Whenever I heard about him being cast, he's one of those you can see it, but you're not sure exactly how it's going to work. Thought he did really good. He has a good little that rich kid arrogance, a little with a hint of evil in there, and the way he kind of took control of the board that he's all of a sudden the head man for after inheriting just a shit ton of money.
Right.
As his character evolves, there's some story issues with that, but again, it's not anything to do with his acting. It's more with the writing.
Sure. Well, before we go to our final verse, let's real quick talk about the production. I don't have as keen of an eye for this kind of stuff as you guys do, but all I can say is, to me, this movie looked gorgeous. The action scenes felt really good. I liked seeing the shots of Spider-Man, which I felt like I was looking at the cover of a comic book at some of the shots, and he's flying through the city. Were you impressed as I was with that, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This was, I know you and I both talked about possibly going to see this in 3D just to see some of these scenes where he's free falling or swinging through the city, or, other scenes that in your head, you just imagine would look really good in 3D on the big screen.
Exactly.
So I thought the visually and everything, there was a lot to love about this movie.
The only negative thing I would say about the production is the music. I thought the score was very blah. I don't think there was anything memorable about the score, and it actually negatively distracted me from the movie a couple times, which is really weird. I don't remember that happening in the past.
I don't pay attention to the score as much as really the three of you. But it didn't jump out to me as, but there are certain movies that where it does feel like as much of a character as anything else going on, and
Sure.
Definitely didn't get that impression from this. But if $10 was the price of a ticket, what would you pay?
Well, despite my being vocally bored with comic book films, I've said that a lot, I found myself completely absorbed by The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Is the script perfect? No. Did I have a ton of fun and a full range of emotions? Absolutely. If $10 were the full price of admission, I would pay $7.50. What about you?
Wow, I'm going to go lower, and if I do see it again in 3D, it will just strictly be for the visual aspect of it. There's just too much of this that I just scratch my head and go, what on earth was going on? What on earth just happened? I've got to give it like a 6.5. The little attention to detail with postures that Spider-Man has was very comic bookish.
Mm-hmm.
That you would see, and if you read the comics, there were poses and stuff that he did that was almost straight out of the pages, and I liked that. It was a nice touch that I don't remember happened as much in the Raimi movies. So I will give it a 6.5, and I'm really kind of rounding up on that.
You can read my review on the site, and I gave it a 6 out of 10. I was very disappointed, but I still liked it. Just wasn't what I wanted.
Basically, my thing too was entertained, but just not what I hoped for.
All it was missing was Danny McBride. If they would have brought Danny McBride in, I think it would have been a much better film. Don't you agree, Justin?
Danny McBride's like bacon. He makes everything better. He is the bacon of acting.
Wow. All right. Well, I saw Neighbors. That is the Seth Rogen and Zac Efron movie. Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne star as Mac and Kelly. They're these lame married parents of a newborn baby. They live in this nice little neighborhood with nice little neighbors. They have a nice, quiet life. And then a fraternity led by Zac Efron's tHe moves in. First, Mac and Kelly try to be cool with the college kids. They smoke some weed because it's a Seth Rogen movie, so I think that's required. And then they partake in the party atmosphere. They try to make them think, hey, we're cool, we're with you. But tHe makes Mac promise one thing. Call him first if the party gets out of control. If there's a party and it's a little crazy and you have a problem with it, you call him first, don't call the cops. Well, the late nights eventually take their toll on Mac after failing to reach tHe. To be fair, he does call tHe several times, and tHe's too busy, having fun. He calls the police, and then the war is on between, like the commercials say, family versus frat. It goes from exploding airbags to flooding basements to causing breakups. Both sides just go really dark. Funny dark, but dark, almost like War of the Roses in certain parts. Zac Efron is great. I don't know if this is like an exaggeration of his public persona or what, but as a dumbass dude bro, this guy nails it. Seth Rogen, he plays the only character Seth Rogen knows how to play, and that's Seth Rogen, pot-smoking wise-ass. So there's nothing really deep there, and he's not expanding. But he's funny. I mean, he's Seth Rogen. The funniest actor in the movie, I thought, was Rose Byrne. She just seemed like the only normal person, so her reactions are absolutely hysterical. And she eventually becomes like this evil mastermind, and just she has no problem fucking with everybody. Dave Franco and Christopher Mintz-Plasse. That's what
Mintz-Plasse, I think.
I know how it is, but I like saying Plasse. Both pop in for supporting roles. They do a pretty good job, but they're just bit roles. Except Dave Franco's Robert De Niro is fantastic. The one negative that I can give this movie is it never really feels like a movie, so much as like a bunch of funny moments duct taped together by director Nicholas Stoller. The story, quote unquote, is as basic as it sounds, and it gets really ridiculous at the end. If you want to laugh your ass off with your friends and not have to think too hard, Neighbors is for you. You might have some story issues, but it's funny as hell. So if $10 is the full price of admission, Neighbors is worth $6.50. So who's going to see it?
Fuck yeah, man.
I'm going on Friday afternoon.
Yup.
Cool.
All right, Amazing Spider-Man 2 swung into number 1 with $91.6 million. Sounds huge, right? Until you consider that it is the lowest opening for a May opening Spider-Man movie, and the first one opened 12 years ago. So that's doesn't bode well for the franchise.
Wait, did you say a May opening?
A May opening Spider-Man. 3 of the Spider-Mans have opened in May.
Okay, that seems very specific.
Well, the Spider-Man 2 and the Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, both opened on Tuesdays, so they don't really compare for a weekend because they open way before the weekend.
What kind of world are we living in when a nearly $100 million opening weekend is considered meh?
For the franchise.
A cause for concern.
For the franchise, yeah. Well, because they pumped so much money into this movie, that's why. They got like $500 million into the movie before it ever hit theaters. With marketing and the production budget. It's just...
That's redonkulous.
It sure is. That is some companies' countries' entire surplus. Spider-Man 2, if it plays there's people in that country going, F you, Hollywood. F you. That would feed all of us for 10 years.
I wonder what this means for the Sinister Six proposed films.
I think it's all going to bank on foreign dollars, which it's doing okay. I mean, it's doing about the same as the last one. I think they thought it was going to grow, and it seems like it's going to be about the same.
Well, I'll go see it tomorrow, and I'll let you know what I thought.
Okay.
All right, folks, we have only got 2. Thank you, baby Jesus. Only 2 films to discuss this week. One of them really being worth discussing. The other one, why the fuck it's even coming out, I don't know. So we'll go ahead and take care of that one first. $1 Million Arm. Crickets.
Not crickets. Why do you keep saying? I want to see it.
Well, that's also kind of a pun, considering the story of a sports agent staging an unconventional recruitment strategy to get talented Indian cricket players to play Major League Baseball. This is directed by Craig Gillespie, and it stars John Hamm, Lake Bell, Alan Arkin, Bill Paxton, and then some Indian fellows that I am unfamiliar with. All right, Aaron, you seem to be kind of excited for this one, so tell me, why are you pumped for the $1 Million Arm? The
test screenings have been through the roof for this one. Disney's claiming it's the highest tested movie they've ever had. And, a lot of that's marketing fluff. But I like John Hamm. I like the idea. And I like these good-natured, feel-good movies. So, yeah, I want to see it.
Do you think it stands a chance?
And I don't.
Film we're going to be talking about.
Here's what I don't want. I never want us to be the show where we just poo-poo something because it's not a genre flick. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not poo-pooing it because it's not a genre flick. I'm poo-pooing it because it's going up against the second film we're going to be talking about, and I think it's going to get, pardon the pun, stomped on.
Oh, it'll probably get stomped on.
Theaters.
But this is going to be one of those where if people want to take their kids or something to a movie where there isn't tons of violence, and they just want a nice little family film. This is perfect.
Okay, you're raising your kids wrong then, first off.
Justin, I get what he's saying. I think you're poo-pooing this movie more because it's a baseball movie than because it's what it's going
That
up
could
against.
be part of it. That could be part of it because I think it's baseball.
I think you're underestimating how much people love baseball in this country. Even though football is apparently the official pastime now instead of baseball, I think this one will surprise you with how well this does, even though it's going up against a gargantuan giant. People love baseball. For me, though, it looks a little too PG for me, if that makes sense. Not that I have to see vulgarity and that kind of thing, but it just looks too Disney for me to love. But I am interested in checking it out because I traditionally love baseball movies. So,
what about you, Brian?
Yeah, I do too, and I do want to see this. This is, the name of the other movie is escaping me, but it was the movie about it was the one with your boy Dennis Quaid.
Oh, The Rookie.
The Natural or The Rookie?
The Natural. That's Paul Newman.
Yeah, that was Robert Redford.
Oh, Robert Redford. Well, one of them. They're the same guy.
No.
Don't they both have Italian sauce?
But it reminds me of The Rookie. And The Rookie was a very, very good movie. You cannot help but feel good anytime you watch that movie. So it looks like it's in that vein. I hope it's in that vein because this, it looks like it's just, a good feel-good movie. And unfortunately, like I say, it's got the the misfortune of going against a pretty big movie. So,
which is?
Okay, we'll get to it in a second, but let me make sure that I cover my bases here real quick.
Oh my God.
I have no issue really with this film. The fact that it's about baseball, sure, I don't like baseball, but that's not really a reason that I think it's going to fail. One, it is going up against Godzilla, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Two, it is about baseball, but a lot of it's going to take place in India and involve cricket. I don't think American audiences give one fuck about cricket. And I am afraid that the middle of the country maybe isn't going to be all that interested in seeing a film that involves people from another country coming to play baseball, especially when those people are brown. I don't mean to cast aspersions, but there's just a lot of people out there that see certain particular people and they just get these negative connotations.
Oh, I think you're covering.
I
Look at
think
that. Using politics to cover up
a
your
lot of reasons
backpedaler.
why I would not have put $1 Million Arm in the weekend that it's coming up on.
Backpedaler.
But that's just, fuck you. This is just my opinion. I don't think it's going to be also that good of a movie because I'm kind of like with Scotty in that it looks too Disney. When
you
I've
should
seen
be
the
on Dancing
commercials
with the
for
Stars because you were tiptoeing around that opinion.
I can dance when I got it. I'm a
Twinkle
huge,
toes.
I'm a huge John Hamm fan.
Talk about
I've
Godzilla.
got no interest in this one.
We got it. It's okay. We love you.
So fuck that movie. Let's talk about the one that everybody on my Facebook wall, Twitter, everywhere else, this is the movie they're talking about. This one's going to crush everything that weekend, and it is Godzilla. Now, I am surprised at some of the twists I've been learning about the movie lately that I hadn't known beforehand, but it is directed by Garth Edwards, who is known for his film Monster, which was a really low-budgeted horror film, but came out to great critical acclaim.
Really well done. Yeah.
Really well done film. He did a lot with very little. This movie, it stars Bryan Cranston, Elizabeth Olsen, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Ken Watanabe. It's the world's most famous monster is pitted against malevolent creatures who, bolstered by humanity's scientific arrogance, threaten our very existence. Now, for the longest time, I was not aware that there were going to be monsters other than Godzilla in this. So that kind of turns everything on its head as far as where I was coming at with this film. I was very negative. No, I didn't, because for the longest time, the only monster I saw was Godzilla. So I thought it was basically humans against that creature, but now it's completely different, and so I'm a little more intrigued, though I will keep wondering where the Jaegers are. Scotty, what do you think about this film? Is this Godzilla the kind of Godzilla you want to see, or is it too different from the kind of campy ones that we got for a good long while?
Oh, I'm absolutely on board, and I believe I was the only one a year and a half ago when this thing got announced that was actually interested in seeing another guy. Oh, maybe Brian, because he liked the 98 or 99 one too. But I am on board. I have been stoked for this. I actually kind of wish I didn't know about those extra plot points that you just mentioned.
Yeah, because I didn't know about that either. So good one, Justin.
Hey, it's right there on IMDb's description. I'm sorry.
I know, and we posted that trailer too, and I actually saw some of that. So I was like,
Flying Monster and some others. So unfortunately, it is out there.
That would have been so cool to not know that and go into the theater and be like, "What?" That would have been pretty cool. But I am there. This I'm considering like the 10 o'clock showing or the midnight showing on this one. I am stoked. Can't wait.
This has got me written all over it. I'm really stoked for this. And really, honestly, real quick, one of the best trailers I've seen for this year so far. Right up there with Guardians of the Galaxy, but for a different reason. It's just the way that the first half of the trailer opens up, and you think it's like some military movie, maybe some Afghanistan thing or something, or I don't know, maybe like an Expendables type, just nothing but a bunch of guns and stuff. And then all of a sudden you realize it's Godzilla, that they're, that's not like a mountain in the background that they're these guys with the red smoke are, dropping down on. It's God freaking Zilla. So.
Well, you're talking about the teaser trailer, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, well, yeah. I mean, whatever. The teasers are like freaking 4 minutes long now, so I don't know. Whatever,
I am kind of bummed because the commercials are tweaked and they started showing that there's more than one monster, and I was kind of not. I'm with Scott. I didn't know that, and now it's kind of becoming common knowledge because of the marketing. So it's not like we're giving anything away, but I was kind of disappointed that they started putting it in there because I was already pumped just thinking it was just Godzilla. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, for me, the opposite of Scott, I actually have the reminder of the former Godzilla movie. I'm like, whoa, I don't want babies in there or anything. I mean, you got extra monsters. They better be badass monsters. I don't want any of that nonsense from before. So I'm still pumped, but that made me go, I'll bring the hype meter down a little bit. Just a hair. Just bring it down a hair. Make it a little bit more realistic.
Well, that was a big part of the old movies, wasn't it?
Well, the old movies, there were some where it was just him in Tokyo, but there were quite a few where he took on other monsters, and I think that's where a lot of fun came from, but was also where some campiness was coming in too. Yeah, so Godzilla being one of them.
It's a fine line, and if the director has it nailed, the last director was it what was his name? Independence Day guy.
Roland Emmerich.
Roland Emmerich, yeah. He doesn't have a good feel for where the camp line should be. I think Edwards does, so I have a lot more faith in him in presenting this and keeping the camp out of it. The one thing that I really look forward to with Godzilla is the actual look of the monster. I know some people are hating on it because he's too fat or something. I mean, Godzilla's too fat, whatever that means. He's a giant monster. I like it because it's a different look. It's not the same Godzilla I've seen before. It's kind of a different take on it. He's bigger. He's thicker. He looks like he would be something that mutated. He doesn't look like something that was born that way. I really like the look from what I've seen.
He looks American.
Yeah, exactly. Looks American. He looks like he's eaten a few cheeseburgers in his time. He's a chubby guy.
Got a couple of McRibs under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, of these two movies, which one are you most likely to run out into a theater to see? $1 Million Arm or Godzilla? Scotty?
Godzilla, definitely.
Brian?
Yeah.
Godzilla.
Godzilla. Yep.
All right, well, and there you go. That's why $1 Million Arm will tank. I am calling it.
I totally think it'll be a mid-level hit.
It probably will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Family film. Yep.
Go.
Listen and subscribe on iTunes, your Stitcher Radio app. Give us a thumbs up if you do. And both of those, hey, if you go on iTunes, give us a rating. Come on, man. Pretty please. It'll take you 5 seconds. I promise. And if you're listening to Stitcher, it literally is on your app. You just push the thumbs up. We'd appreciate it.
It benefits us too. We don't know how, but it does.
No, it does. It really does. It helps the show a lot. So we really appreciate it. Just give us a 5-star review or 4. We'll take 4. I think it's nice. There's a new episode every Thursday.
What's this movie?
What's this movie? Each week we play ours or a listener suggested clip from a movie. If you think you know what the clip is, you email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com and we'll give you a proper host shout out. Last week's answer was Scott's pick. It was Uncle Buck, and that would be Craig Schermerhorn.
Only one?
That's what I recall that I found. If somebody else got it, I didn't get your email, so I apologize, but that's the only one I got. Sorry, Scott. Does that bum you out?
I just feel bad. I get a lot of rap for making obscure ones. I didn't think that was that obscure.
No, but it's
I
old.
didn't get it.
It's old. I got a lot of questions about it. There are a lot of people that I know that listened and said, was that so-and-so? Was that this? Was that that? And they were not right. So it's probably a hard one. I wouldn't have got it just by listening to it. So you stumped us all. You stumped us hoes. This week, it's my turn, basically because everybody else was really busy. So if you think you know what it is, email us at feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. I love this clip. Here it is.
6 hours, it'll be 100 below in here. Well, that's suicide! Not for that thing. It wants to freeze now. It's got no way out of here. It just wants to go to sleep in the cold until the rescue team finds it. What can we do? What can we do? Whether we make it or not, we can't let the thing freeze again. Maybe we'll just warm things up a little around here.
Now let's go to the couch. Talk about TV and home video news. Not a whole lot going on, but Muppet screenwriter Nick Stoller says that the Muppets might be coming back to TV. I'm guessing because that movie didn't do so hot. Is that where you want them as a fan, Scott?
I'm not sure. It could be awesome depending on what they do with it on TV. Because for those that don't remember, you must be younger than me. The old Muppet Show was more of a sketch comedy show almost, kind of like a kid's version of SNL. They had celebrity guests, they do interviews, and have like these little comedy bits. And I think what worked well with the first movie, it did really well. The writing was good. The second movie kind of was just okay. But I would almost rather see them go back to the original format if they're going to go to TV. And just see what happens. The big question is where's it going to go? What network do you put a Muppet Show on? I mean,
Family, Disney Channel? I don't know. I mean, is it owned by Disney? I don't know who owns that one. But yeah, some family channel. I don't think it's going to be on a network, I guess, unless it's really
ABC.
Early.
Well, what was it on back in the day? I don't even remember. Was it the big networks?
You got me, man. I don't remember. I'm sure it was a big network.
It was, but I don't remember which one. I'd love to see it on one of the big networks, put it on like Saturday nights or maybe Friday nights. I think it'd be cool because it was almost a little bit like a kind of a 30 Rock kind of vibe because it had the show, but it also had a lot of behind the scenes goings on backstage of the show, and I would love if they did that again.
But when they interviewed the screenwriter, he mentioned something about stories about the side characters. You could do all these different stories with these Muppets, and I don't want another caper movie or another something like that. I mean, what they did with like the old classic stories, like the Muppet Treasure Island and Muppet Christmas Carol, that was interesting. I don't want to see any more of that though either. I think if you're going to go back and do a TV show, do it the old way, but with a modern twist on it. I think that would be more interesting than going and starting a fresh story with old characters.
Okay, now we're going to talk about 24, Live Another Day. Now, obviously, we have another podcast that's devoted to it, so if you want to hear a lot about it, then you should go there. It's awesome. 24, Live Another Podcast. Shameless plug. But for those that haven't seen it or listened to it, 24, Live Another Day brings Jack Bauer back. He's been gone for 4 years. The show went off the air about 4 years ago, and they brought him back with a event series where he's in London, running underground, trying to thwart an attack or an assassination attempt. He doesn't know which for sure yet, or we don't know for sure yet. But right now, Justin, what did you think of the premiere? And we'll keep it succinct. People can listen to the podcast if they want more detail.
I really enjoyed it. It was nice seeing Jack Bauer back on the screen with all the other little 24 bits and bops that, make up that show. I liked seeing Chloe again, some good new characters, got some good old ones. All in all, it's great to have it back on my TV.
Yeah, same here. It's just one of those shows that I am so happy to be back. It was action-packed. They didn't just drop storylines that I think were relevant. Jack is still a fugitive, so it doesn't just forget that. He didn't get some cheap presidential pardon. It worked really well. They've even got a lot of characters that mix really well with him. And he gets to be, I don't love the show just because I think Jack Bauer is a badass. I love it because the characters, the story, the intrigue, and the action all mixed. And they did a great job. It was a great premiere.
Yep.
Tell us about DVD and Blu-ray, Scott.
We've got quite a few releases actually for May 13th, so I'll rush through them really quickly. First is That Awkward Moment. This is the film about the three best friends who are deciding whether to take the plunge of a serious relationship. It stars Zac Efron and Michael B. Jordan. Aaron reviewed it back on episode 128, where he gave it a $5 out of 10. We've also got the movie Her. This is the film about Joaquin Phoenix's character who develops a relationship with his operating system. It sounds very weird, but it's getting very critical acclaim. And I'm disappointed I didn't get a chance to see it, but I will be seeing this one. It was actually nominated for Best Picture. Third, we've got I, Frankenstein. This is Aaron Eckhart as Frankenstein's monster in a more modern take. It also stars Bill Nighy. Justin saw it, as well as Aaron. They both reviewed it back on episode 127. Justin gave it 6. Aaron gave it a 4.50.
I gave it a 6.
You sure did.
He gave it a 6.
Oh, Jesus, I'd retroactively change that to about a 3.
Really, that bad?
Memory has not been kind to that movie.
Did you rewatch it or something?
No, just as I'm seeing that it's coming out, I've kind of been rethinking the movie, and it's just like I can't think of one single thing I like.
So really, you've
Nothing that would
realized
make me want to watch it again.
you've realized that I was correct before. That's really what you came to.
I think I would not say you were correct, as I was not right. I should have crapped on it more fiercely.
I like it.
We've also got a Russian film by the name of Stalingrad. It's a band of Russian soldiers fight to hold a strategic building in their devastated city against a ruthless German army.
Really want to see
so
that.
Forth.
Really
and
want to
so
see
forth.
that.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I was close enough to an IMAX theater where it was playing, because I would have loved to have seen this on an IMAX.
I guess I'll have to look into that a little closer. It didn't really grab me from that description, but we've also got The Monuments Men, which is a little bit different take on the World War II genre of film, as a group of men are tasked with recovering pieces of art from the Nazis. Aaron was the only one that saw it of our group, and he reviewed it on episode 129, gave it a 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
About Last Night follows two couples as they journey from the bar to the bedroom and are eventually put to the test in the real world. I don't think any of us saw that one, so you'll have to let us know what you thought of that, listeners. 3 Days to Kill, a dying CIA agent trying to reconnect with his estranged daughter is offered an experimental drug that could save his life in exchange for one last assignment. I believe it's Kevin Costner and is it Haley? How do you say her last name, Aaron?
Steinfeld.
Seinfeld?
Steinfeld.
Joel Osment.
Steinfeld.
Sorry.
Jerry! Jerry!
Hello, Jerry. Aaron reviewed it on episode 131 where he gave it a 5.50. And lastly, Pompeii. This is the period piece about the famous city destroyed by a volcano.
You gave it a 6, jackass.
He keeps complaining about these, but then his scores are like 6 and higher, so I don't get it. Anyway, this one stars Jon Snow, also known as Kit Harington. And we reviewed it on episode 131 where Justin gave it a 6.50. That's it.
All right. This week's topic. Well, summer upon us, and pretty much every summer we get one or two big monster movies like Godzilla or Pacific Rim. But everybody's got kind of a different opinion about what makes a really good monster movie. So what to you makes a great monster movie?
The most important element is that the monster has to be memorable. I mean, if you've got that's why I don't care for movies like, say, a Jeepers Creepers, or one of those kind of just, your generic-ish CW wannabe kind of teeny bopper horror movie where the villain is some, I don't know, fucking scarecrow, or just, there's nothing memorable about that villain.
I can't like Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, I can't think back to that movie and then go, oh, that was a really cool villain, because either it was really smart, or it was crafty, or it had just a really good look to it. Just nothing about it sticks in the brain. A good monster sticks in your brain and almost kind of has you rooting for it, even if it is the monster.
I think to add to what you're saying, Justin, is showing the monster the right amount. There's some movies where you don't even see the monster till the very end, or you're teased just a little bit. But when you see the monster too much too early on, that diminishes my enjoyment of the movie. I feel like I've been spoiled the good parts of the movie.
Could be, yeah.
I just want wanton destruction. It doesn't have to be like destroying buildings or something, but I want something that no matter what, I have a hard time killing, or the perpetrators in the movie have a hard time killing. They have no way to get rid of whatever the thing is, whether it's literally the thing, or it's Godzilla, or it's the giant earthworm and Tremors, or it's a gremlin, whatever it is. I just want it really hard to kill or get rid of or make go away. Whenever you have a monster movie and, when they find out exactly what it is that'll kill them and it takes 4 seconds, that to me is not a monster movie. That's just, you were dumb most of this movie. And this poor thing found a way to crush a lot of your friends for no reason. When you have a true monster movie, there is no way that you can easily get rid of this damn thing.
I need something like suspense. I need something like anticipation, suspense, maybe some mystery to make a good monster movie. Whether it's maybe the monster, is tracking down our heroes or something like that, or maybe just almost a mystery, or even like, what is it? Like, that was one of the good things about Cloverfield is you never really got a good look about it. I wish it would have paid off a little bit more in the end, but you never really got a good look at the Godzilla-esque monster.
Same thing about Alien. In the original film, you rarely got a good shot. In fact, I don't know if you really ever got a good shot of that alien because it was, its body was black and it was constantly in shadows. And so
but you did by the end because she ejected it out of the little escape craft.
Oh, that's true. But that was at the very end. You spent the entire movie wondering when this monster was going to get unleashed, and then followed the rest of the film as it just one by one slaughtered its way through that crew. And it left your protagonists in the film were terrified of it. The audience was terrified of it. It looked fantastic. That's almost a perfect movie monster.
Mm-hmm. And I used perpetrators earlier. I just want to clarify. I'm assuming all leads of these movies are criminals. So that's what I'm going.
You meant protagonist.
Yeah, protagonist. That works too. Perp.
Got the perp. For me, a monster movie has to have some kind of epic scope of disaster. You guys know I'm a big fan of disaster movies, so I want to see things in a monster movie that you don't normally get to see. Get you that real sense of dread. And when that comes from a monster that you don't get to see as much as the cast does, that really gets under your skin and you can't wait to see what they're seeing, that makes a good monster movie to me.
See, I kind of go the opposite route. Yes, I said wanton destruction, but I don't actually mean buildings collapsing. All of your friends dying in horrible ways. That's kind of what I want. And to me, that's wanton destruction. It's more low key, but it's the same thing. I like things like The Thing or Alien or something along those lines where the whatever the beast is changes form and can maneuver itself through society without really you even getting a glimpse of it until it's too late, or you're trapped and you have no way out and it finds another way to kill you. I love that because a big giant stomping monster, it just to me always feels like I could probably just hide. You know what I mean? I could probably find somewhere where he'd never find me. Where you got these creepy little sons of bitches, like the Predator or the Thing or anything else, and they find a way to find you because they can catch you in that little nook and cranny. Giant kaiju can't do that.
Well, not for nothing. Godzilla doesn't need to find you. He just has to knock over the building you're in.
I just feel like I could find a place.
You can get under any doorway you want. You're pretty much dead.
Oh, well, speaking of those nice little fun moments, what are some of the worst monster movie cliches? Or your favorites, either way.
I don't know. Some of the worst ones is nuclear radiation / toxic sludge. That always gets blamed for, or the reason for creating whatever monster is around.
How long until you think climate change is in there somehow? Where we're like, well, if we would have recycled.
Wasn't that the happening?
Wasn't that what?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Something
Where
better.
The trees were killing us?
Something better. It's got to be something better. We can't have recycling and a crappy Mark Wahlberg movie. It's not right.
And Scott kind of touched on this, and it was one of my things is don't show me the monster, or not. Let me say this: not showing me the monster, even though I know what it looks like. With all the trailers, the movie posters, especially now with the internet the way it is, we see. We get all these especially the closer we get to the release, you see more and more, kind of like Godzilla. You're seeing more and more of this stuff, and they're trying to give you more new images to draw you in, and it ruins it. But yet, then you watch the movie and you don't see this creature until way into the movie. at least an hour or so into the movie, and that just kind of bugs me a little bit. I mean, it's like, what the hell are you waiting on?
Well, that's where I think Cloverfield, the people behind its marketing, were luckily a smart group of people, because they went to great pains to never show what that monster looked like in any of the trailers or commercials for it. And shit, most of the movie,
yeah,
you don't get a
they
real
did a
good
good job
shot
of that in the movie too.
So that's one of the rare examples, though, where a movie doesn't have all of its good bits spoiled in the trailer, and they really held on to that. And as much as I give the Matthew Broderick Godzilla shit, they did a pretty good job too of hiding what their new Godzilla looked like for a good little while. You know, before the Taco Bell cup lids or whatever came out.
Well, and people,
the big eye, I remember that.
Yeah, the giant eye. People need to remember, though, that not everybody's as spoiled for movies as us and the people listening. Not everybody watches every single trailer and every single commercial. A lot of people just hear Godzilla's coming out. I mean, that's what they bank on, is name recognition.
Yep.
So they might hear it, and they have no idea what it's going to look like. So they are just as surprised as someone that's never even seen a trailer, because they go in that theater blind. And I think that happens more times than not, honestly.
That's fair.
Yeah.
My biggest hated movie cliche is the slow turnaround. And what I mean by this is one character is facing another character, and over their shoulder you see whatever monster it is, and then they flip to the other person. The person gives a reaction because they see whatever is behind them, but they don't want to move too fast to startle whatever monster it is. And the person that's now facing the camera is, you can see the look in their eye, there's something behind me, but I'm going to continue staring this way. I'm going to
stand. I'm just not going to take off running and then look while I'm running. You know.
Yeah.
Well, Godzilla can only see you if you're moving. Well,
because
I don't know about that.
Because they're all like T-Rex.
What person does that? If someone looks, I mean, have you ever even had like a regular conversation with someone and they kind of just casually glance over your shoulder at something that's moving, and your immediate reaction is to quick turn around and see what it was? If someone has a panicked look on their face, utter sheer terror from something, from some monster that is over you, do you think you're just going to stare at them and be like, what?
I'm going to push them down, and then I'm running.
You know what I hate more is when they hear the giant footsteps coming, or even in Jurassic Park, they see the water shaking, and they never bother to fucking look. You know, they're just like looking at each other going, I wonder if that's something giant and huge that's creeping up upon me. What is that? Oh, I don't know. And then we'll wait until he's right there, and then, oh, crap. There he is. He's 600 feet tall. How did I not see that coming? Clouds. It's got to be clouds. I just hate that. Absolutely hate that. The big cliche that I don't like is the necessary, but always at the wrong time, exposition while they're escaping. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm being pursued by whatever the creature is, small, big, large, whatever it is, and I'm fleeing a scene, I wouldn't think to sit there and explain everything I've learned about this creature up to this point, which always seems to happen in these movies. That's like their exposition moment. Let's nail some of this out while we're escaping. And I've never understood that. Happens a lot in movies. You might not even notice it, but it happens a lot.
I think my most disliked Brian already got to. It's the whole nuclear reason for why these creatures are created, and extrapolate that out a bit more to just a science experiment gone wrong. I kind of prefer it when my monsters are made by good old Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it when it's our fault. Like, we were stupid and we were doing something we weren't supposed to do, and guess what? We died. All of us. I like those kind of movies.
What about the don't break this one rule deal in movies, and then what's the first thing they do? They go break that rule.
Yep. Whoops. I'm sorry I fed you after midnight. Damn it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The Gremlins is the easy one to go to, but
but those rules were so dumb. Whose midnight are you talking about?
China? UK? Where exactly are we talking about? No, Pacific time. Pacific time.
I mean, if you travel into another time zone, does its body reset for that hour or what? Oh, just so dumb.
They got a computer chip in them. They're really Furbies.
I know. They must have some kind of satellite link, so they always know.
And don't get them wet. They must have been the smelliest sons of bitches that have ever walked the earth.
But you use that dry shampoo. Yeah.
That's
Nice.
right.
Can never get them wet.
Just take them to the cleaners.
So
and why is it when somebody's running away from whatever creature monster it is, they stop about, I don't know, maybe half a block away, if that, and call whoever they got to warn, whether it's the newspaper, whether it's their friend. They just say they run and they grab, oh, hey, here's the nearest phone. I know the killer's right around the corner, or the giant creature is, the one block back and about to step on my building, but, I'm sit here and call.
Do you guys ever wonder, think truthfully, if you were in that scenario, would you even look back for your friends? Or would you just haul ass and just hope they made it?
Are we talking about my real friends or like you guys?
Either one. Whatever. We are your real friends. Come on. Who you fooling?
I don't know. I mean, personally, realistically speaking, if I saw Godzilla, I would probably just shit myself and just stand there waiting to get stomped on.
You're like, I'm done. I'm not even going to try.
Fuck it. If I'm going to go out, getting stomped on by Godzilla is probably not the worst way. It'll be quick, hopefully painless.
And on the same token, if you had something like Alien on your ship or boat or whatever you're in, and you knew that one of your friends had it, wouldn't you just go through and fuck with every single one of them until you found out exactly who had it? I mean,
what do you mean?
I'd kill them all. I'm not going to lie.
No, like, especially if that thing got out, I'd be like, was it Bill Paxton? Game over, man.
Yeah, I'm afraid I would just find the furthest corner I could get into and then just huddle.
Seriously,
Yeah.
I'm not a fighter.
I am more twisted than you guys. I would probably duct tape a grenade to the middle of the room and then say, "Hey, everybody, cheesecake right in the middle of the room." That's what I would do. Fuck them all. That way, it's done.
Is that what
I'm
bad
never
guys
flying
want?
with you again.
What's that, Justin?
Is that what bad guys yearn for? Cheesecake? You've got their Achilles heel now.
That's how you get everybody in the center of the room. If there's cheesecake, they're going for it. Come
Unless
on.
they're lactose intolerant. Then...
Oh, son of a bitch. Is lemon meringue pie? Is that covered?
It's cream based. It's still lactose.
Okay.
Just say there's pie, and then let their mind fill in their favorite.
All right, finally, guys.
Blueberry.
What are your
pie?
What are your top 3 favorite monster movies? Brian, you can go first.
Monster movies or monsters? Because I actually went monsters. Sorry.
You do whatever you want.
Yeah. I got to go with, in really no particular order, I'm going to go with a couple of classics. King Kong, because, I mean, what monster movie can freaking make you cry?
'Twas beauty that killed the beast.
Aww.
Aww. Alien, still to this day, is scary. One of the more imaginative creatures, monsters of any in this genre, and one that's a little new. It's more new, and it's one of my. It's one of those. It's just one of those ones that. Anytime I've seen it on, I've watched it, and I didn't. I've probably watched it 5 times before I realized I actually liked it as much as I do, and that's Troll Hunter.
Oh, yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
I still haven't seen that.
It's really good. Yeah.
It's just one of those. It's not. It is really good, but it's not really good. It's
okay. Now you're confusing.
It's
me.
really interesting. How's that?
It is. It is, and it's it's the found footage style movie.
Yeah,
although it's done better than the Cloverfield.
It is. Yeah. It's one of those where it's only really good once. It's not a repeat movie.
Yeah, and but it's just the way I guess the way they present it and the way they kind of tell the story is pretty good. So, yeah, that was just one of those that just kept coming back to me. So I figured I'd put it on the list. What you got, Aaron?
Are we doing 3, 2, 1? Is that what we're doing? All right.
I just went in no particular order, but you do whatever tickles your fancy there.
Did you do 3 movies or just 1?
I did King Kong, Alien, and Troll Hunter.
All right. I want to make sure you get all 3.
By my
your
count,
format say 3?
now this is South Georgia math I'm talking about here.
That's 3.
I've got 3.
All right. My number 3 is The Mist. Yeah, I love it that much. And it's just a balls out movie. And some people don't like the ending. Those people are just mistaken.
They're stupid.
It's a
Can't believe you went there.
fantastic movie,
They're
I
wrong.
thought. And it's just one of my favorite monster movies of all time. Number 2 is Predator. Who doesn't love seeing those big-ass dudes get bitch slapped all over the jungle while flexing their giant muscles?
I think the only reason I don't count Predator, and the only reason, is because it's so smart. For me, I think monsters. I usually peg them a little more animal in perhaps their behavior or their mindset, whereas Predator is so smart and technologically capable. It's definitely the villain, but I don't know if I consider it a monster. But that's my own quirky.
Have you seen him
definition
without
of
his
monsters.
mask on?
Yeah, he's a monster. He looks like a
Oh,
vagina.
shit, then Chewbacca could be considered a monster.
He looks like a vagina face. I don't.
What kind of vaginas are you looking at?
Don't even want to know.
Holy crap!
Yeah, it's man.
It takes the whole, vagina dentata to a whole new level.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
It's got like sharp pincers on it.
Gotta go see that movie Teeth again now.
Oh no! Oh, and Jaws, number 1. And Predator, I totally consider it a monster, but that's beside the point. Jaws, if someone wants to debate that it's a monster movie, I'd say you need to go find a great white shark that big that also chases people into the ocean and actually exists, and then I will listen to you.
That shark chased people on land.
What's that? Yeah. It chased relatives in the future movie. So, I mean, it's a monster. That's a monster. That's a smart one. I just love that movie. It's just my all-time favorite monster movie. And the way Spielberg shot that movie, where you barely even see the shark until, hour 15, something in, before you see him at all. And then it's still barely anything. So I just love that movie. And it still gets me every time I watch it.
Yeah, and that's what kind of goes back to my whole anticipation and suspense thing, because with Alien and Jaws both, that's very prominent in both of those movies.
Yep.
Justin?
I'll agree with Brian. King Kong is one of my personal favorites, and at this point, I'm sure I've been pegged as the Peter Jackson apologist of the show.
Yes, you have.
But I did very much like Peter Jackson's King Kong. Saw it twice in theaters, and then I've owned it and seen it a couple more times at home. And there's just something about the way it's especially the facial expressions that King Kong ape face is able to express it. In a strange way, it almost reminds me of like my grandfather with some of those more disapproving looks. But it's a great monster, and it's the rare monster that actually, makes you kind of feel sorry for it.
Yeah, there's sympathy there. Yep.
The Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth, he's a character that was very tall, very thin.
Good one.
He put the eyes in his hands. Guillermo del Toro is just phenomenal with the creatures that he puts in his movies. And I think with Pan's Labyrinth, the people responsible for that character design really outdid themselves. It is creepy. And when in that moment in the movie where the little girl is in that dining room where he is at and trying to find some things, and then it becomes aware of her, it's very, very, very creepy. And every time that creature, I would see it on the screen or in a poster, it made me want to know more about it. But the last one, even though the movies around him have sucked, the design and the acting brought to it, Pinhead. The Hellraiser movies are not that great. In fact, I've been rewatching all of them.
Whoa. Now, how you just debated that the Predator isn't a monster, but you're full blown with Pinhead?
So I am a hypocrite. So
yes,
let's go ahead and move forward. I think Pinhead is a creature, I guess, here's where I start dancing. Pinhead is a creature from hell, and it's completely evil, whereas Predator is really just kind of an Alabama hunter, just in our planet as opposed to, us out in the woods. It's not here for villainous intent.
Whew, you are just dubstepping all over the place on this one. I don't know.
No, I see his point.
I don't. What the hell are you talking about?
For me, Pinhead is, I love the look, for one. I mean, all black outfit. Of course, it's got the, dominatrix kind of stripes or a pattern going with it. But the pale skin, the grit across the skull, all those nails. And then you get Doug Bradley, who was the actor for that role, who brought, with his voice and his bearing, a lot of... not respect, but he just dominates when he was on the screen, I could never take my eyes off of him. Mm-hmm. And I just wish that there was a movie really befitting that villain. But I've never seen past the third one. I'm sure they're all shit, but luckily they're also all on Netflix. And so I've been kind of going one by one through them, and I just watched the third one again last night, and probably tonight I'll start in on the ones I haven't seen. But it's just a great-looking villain.
Let me know when you see Inferno, Hellraiser Inferno, because that one, I think the production is terrible on that movie, but I kind of dug where the story went in that one and had a really cool ending. But yeah, they're kind of. I remember liking the first one a lot.
The first one was okay. It was okay. When you see it again, there are a lot of elements of the production that really are not what they should be. But the story was good, and I did like the Pinhead in that film. I just want to see him and his villainy completely unleashed.
And don't take my speaking of Inferno as overselling it whatsoever. It's a poorly made movie. I just think it had some interesting devices.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you, Scott? What are your top three?
All three of mine have actually been mentioned already, so I won't delve too much into it. But Cloverfield is one that I like to watch over and over again, especially on a big screen with a good surround sound, found footage. There were so many things that they did in that movie that I think worked. I just wish the ending were a little more satisfying, and somebody mentioned that earlier too. But the whole concept of it was an actual raw tape that had obviously been taped over from like a birthday party or something, or a going away party. I love that concept. That really made the characters feel real. I enjoyed that. And Alien, Brian mentioned that. Alien is, I've mentioned this before, it's a movie, no matter how many times I see it, I still enjoy watching it. I still get freaked out. It holds up more than almost any other movie I've ever seen.
It really does. Yeah, it does.
And then lastly, Jurassic Park. I mean, how can you?
Absolutely. Good call.
I love Jurassic Park. We had it playing at my house a couple weekends ago on the surround sound, and it just sounds awesome, and just, I mean, who doesn't love dinosaurs? I mean, it's like a kid fantasy come to life, and I'm sorry if you don't think those are monsters. Those are scary as hell. I'll be running from a T-Rex. So.
Unless somebody can show me a dinosaur currently, I would say that they're a monster. A very nice, pleasant dinosaur.
You want to see a dinosaur?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if that's how you sell me.
I don't think one of those exists. I think they were all vicious killers, even the herbivores. There
is a little old man that has figured out how to make them real. So they are real.
I used to work at a bank, man. I saw dinosaurs all the time.
I see what you did. You just called people old. I got it. I saw what you did there. So I just want to clarify. So Pinhead is not smart? Or... Because by your rationale, I'm still trying to understand. I love when Justin's a hypocrite.
No, I see his point. I think by definition, a monster, he's saying that...
They're no different. Those two are no different.
I think it's more about their origin, where they're coming from.
It's their intent. And the Predator's intention wasn't to be a monster. He was here to hunt, and he was here to hunt humans. And I can understand why people would call him a monster, but in my weird brain,
I'm clarifying.
Nothing makes sense, I don't really see him as a monster, whereas Pinhead is pure evil, pure villainy, and that's what lends me to look at him as a monster.
Now you're changing it because you said because he was smarter.
That was an initial part of my thinking, but as I have tried to caress
as you realized you were
as he dances.
That's right.
He's changed his dances from a two-step to a tango.
It's like a salsa going on over here.
You have to also remember that Justin is a huge sci-fi fan, and I think he really thinks that predators exist. So
they don't.
All right, guys, why don't you read our listener picks?
Don't kill my dreams now.
First one, if there are predators,
Steven
I want to move.
Peterson, Cabin in the Woods. That's a good movie right there.
And there's a lot of monsters.
A lot of them, especially at the end.
It's kind of a perfect monster movie, really.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go up with Brad Peterson. He says he's got quite a list here.
He pretty much just gets rid of all the rest of them.
Yeah. The Thing, The Host from 2006, Gamera, is that pronounced that right? Or Gamera?
Gamera.
The 90s trilogy, Godzilla, Final Wars, Gremlins, Monster Squad, Pumpkinhead, Alien, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Yes, I read that correctly. Ooh. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, Night of the Creeps, Slither, Humanoids from the Deep, Bad Taste, Basket Case, to name a few.
Oh, Basket Case, the creepy-ass brother on the shoulder.
That's more than a
Green Day song?
Yeah. Yeah, that's more than a few. And you don't have to, if there's duplicates, please understand, guys, if we skip some of the duplicates. But go ahead, Brian.
Robert John Davenport says, too many favorites to count, but there is only one king of the monsters, and that would be Godzilla. Not the ridiculous Broderick one, the original. Fun fact, in the movie Godzilla Final Wars, Mean Green kicked the crap out of that CG'd mess.
Fair enough.
Carlos Hernandez, Tremors. It is a monster movie, right? Carlos, you would be correct. That is a monster.
It's a great sci-fi
just not a
classic.
sci-fi one.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi classic.
No, it is not.
It's true. I think we've proven it.
Aaron, what was the channel that it...
Sci-fi.
I don't give a fuck what channel. It ain't sci-fi.
Because I'm drawing a blank there. I can't...
Well, you draw lots of blanks.
It's on the
Let's
tip of my tongue. What channel?
Maybe
I don't know, sci-fi or something.
It's probably because the worm was very smart. Scott?
We've got David McGrath, who actually classified them here. Looks like he's got sci-fi movies first, Alien and The Thing. Supernatural movies, The Howling and Pumpkinhead. The, quote, they were always here, we just never saw them before movies. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
The Back Lagoon? What is
Back
that?
Lagoon?
It's a chiropractor classic?
Yeah. Not a monster, but actually is movies, Jaws and Razorback. Used to be human, but now it's your own damn fault movies, The Fly and The Relic. Fly's a good call.
Damn, he's worse
Good
than
list,
Justin.
David. That's a good list.
Brian?
Let's see. Scott Calgaro says, gotta be The Thing. Shape-shifting alien, Kurt Russell caveman, look-alike contest. Donald Moffat's mutant eyebrows. Everything you love in a good monster mash.
Jason Thomir says, big fan of old Godzilla, and Gamara also liked Pacific Rim. Well, of course you did. You are a proper thinking individual.
Stephen White says Monsters, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Monster Squad, It, Aliens, Cabin in the Woods, An American Werewolf in London, Cloverfield, Reign of Fire.
Oh, God, Reign of Fire.
Reign of
That is
Fire.
so underrated.
Yep.
Really? I gotta check that one out.
Oh,
yeah.
McConaughey is so badass in that movie with those tats.
He was.
And those axes. And then those dragons.
Was that it, or was there more?
No, that was it.
Okay. Junebug also said Gareth Edwards' Monsters, Love the Mummy, Cabin in the Woods, and I have to say, Reign of Fire. That's 2 for Reign of Fire. That's one that people should go check back out. That's a nice little cult flick.
Oh,
Absolutely.
we weren't done with the list.
Oh, well then continue.
That was just the
Yeah,
end of Stevens. I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were asking.
Yeah, D.A. Cheney says Aliens, Pandorum, Pacific Rim, Kaiju, World War Z, Zombies, Dog Soldiers, daggum, what the heck was Dog Good Lord.
Word, yo.
Dog Soldiers.
Dadgum.
What are you, Beyonce?
Oh, God, that's a bad image. Anyway, Dog Soldiers. It's about werewolves, Hellboy, oh, so many more. I love monster movies.
Douglas Clayton says Nightbreed. Speaking of Hellraiser and Clive Barker. Love that mythos. Hellboy, great ideas. The Thing, best practical effects. American Werewolf in London when he turned, so cool. Aliens, Pacific Rim was beautiful, and Tremors. I do have to give a shout out. The American Werewolf in London film, oh my God. That's one of the best transformation scenes ever.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, I agree.
And then lastly, we've got Paula Sell says The Mummy.
Ooh, there you go.
I want to know, is she talking about the original or the Brendan Fraser one?
Nobody's.
Is this Brendan? Is this Karloff's Mummy or Brendan Fraser's?
I'm sure it's the newer one. That's what almost everybody would pick these days. The youngins.
Well, nobody mentioned Scorpion King. What?
And Josh Steima says Mimic,
that's good.
Lake Placid, Guilty Pleasure #1, Slither, Deep Rising, and Anaconda.
Whoa, Anaconda.
Ugh. That was terrible. Deep Rising, though, I recently
He did call it
rewatched.
his Guilty Pleasure #2, though. So.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah, Deep Rising, I think it's on Netflix.
it's kind of
now.
fun. Yeah, it's fun.
They have an iTunes. Oh, it's an early Stephen Sommers movie, and I really enjoy it. I still do.
Treat Williams is like the poor man's Harrison Ford.
Kind of.
He is.
Famke Janssen was stunning in that movie, though.
She was.
She's in a lot of movies.
And
She got a little too skinny after that, but in that movie,
All right, guys, before we get to emails, let's do Facebook. Every time you like Facebook, we mention you on the show. We had a bunch, so I'll ramble them off real quick. That's facebook.com/The Hollywood Outsider. Cindy Putter, Stephen Peterson, Emily Cole, Philip Vaughn, Omar Rivera, Luis Colin Olivio, Angel Palmero Mex, Justin Chase, Sarah Ashley Harris, Patrick Duria, Yashonda Riley, Toras Yatenikian, Arun Guk, Gayan. Did you guys do this on purpose? Fuck. Gayanendra Verma, Karan Hadav. There we go. Hey, I did
God,
the
that
best.
was like a train wreck that just wouldn't stop.
And someone asked me, by the way, I
Sounded
got
like Hodor reading anything.
I got an email. Somebody had asked real briefly if I intentionally mess up words and names, and I will tell you, sometimes
hell
I
no.
do. No, sometimes I do. Sometimes I do it because I think I am one of those people that I don't care how it sounds. I like to say it how it reads because I find it funny. Oftentimes I say it wrong. So you never know. You just never know.
Times.
No, sometimes. Okay, and before you get to hear that fantastic Kiefer Sutherland interview that we got to take part in, let's do emails. Justin?
Our first one up is from D.H. Cheney. She says, I think if they truly close off the extended universe stories, that they'll be missing out on good stories. From Doug Clayton, we've got, what up, my friends? I've been wanting to watch Doctor Who on Amazon Prime. I'm a total noob with so many manifestations to choose from. Where do I start? I would say start with the Christopher Eccleston, or Eccleston? Is it with a T?
Stun, yeah.
Eccleston.
Yeah.
Start off with his. That's where they kind of brought it back to television after being gone for a little while. That's where I restarted from, and trust me, you'll be good to go starting there. He goes on to say, also on the podcast, Justin, you mentioned 2 books. One was an epic fantasy, Tiled Wind or something. It's the name of the wind. And another. Both sounded like something I'd like to read. That one was probably Gil's All Fright Diner. Can you please remind me what they were? Of course, I'm reading them only after Stillwater. Thank you. Scott wins, dude. That was the funniest joke today. And he says into his podcast microphone, I laughed hard and long. That was for Brian. And last, Marcus Shelton. Just bought Stillwater for the Kindle. Now we will see if Justin is right about me being a curmudgeon who doesn't like anything. Marcus, I'm sure with that book, you and I will finally come to an agreement that it's brilliant. Thanks for the opportunity to pimp myself.
And Brian.
All right, this is from Ashley. She says, yet again killing it on the special spoiler cast. I was shocked by how objective you all were, especially you, Aaron. I am very guilty of being harsher on properties where I am a devout fan of the source material. You should read a review I wrote about one of the Harry Potter films. Scathing. I actually agree with almost all of your critiques. Dane DeHaan is everything, no? I waited all year for him specifically in this role. I thought he was perfection. There was something super strange about seeing Jamie Foxx in the role of a villain, almost unnatural. And I have no idea what you guys were talking about. Of course, his teeth would be fixed the moment he got superpowers. Duh. Sarcasm raging. Just wanted to drop by and say thanks again for not only the normal weekly show, but the extra episodes as well. You're welcome, Ashley. A lot of people seem to love them. Side note, thanks again for reviewing Blue is the Warmest Color. I loved when Aaron said it took a couple of nights to get through, and Justin and Scott immediately inferred that there was much rewinding and rewatching. Laughed out loud over and over. Love you all, Ashley.
She's absolutely correct, because there's a lot of scenes that were worth watching over and over. But I was there for the drama. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Just like you read for the articles.
I don't read them. Go ahead, Brian.
Let's see. And we got another from Craig Schermerhorn. He says, books that should be turned into movies. Robert McMahon or McHammond. McHammond?
It's Robert McCammon.
Okay. Robert McCammon, Boy's Life. Wasn't that a Robert De Niro movie? Yeah,
that's not this book.
Go ahead.
This quote in the intro to the book had me hooked, and it did nothing but get better. Best book I've ever read.
All right, we've got a tweet from @FreeWalker1. He or she says, also, Norman used Connor's research, hence the nails. The first film says they need Connor's work to save him in the first movie. This is obviously referring to Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Also, okay, guys, Amazing Spider-Man 2's Rhino suit is Nero-controlled. Doc Ock's arms, Vulture's wings are connected to the host. All are similar tech. Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, cool. Doesn't make the points about the movie change a whole lot.
Doesn't make the movie any better.
Sure doesn't.
Also, Peter Germany says, good morning, hoes. I'd just like to recommend a TV show we had over here called Good Night, Mr. Tom. It's a story adapted from a novel about a boy who's moved to the country during the Blitz. It is probably one of the best stories I've seen. The performances, John Thaw in particular, are outstanding, and I think it's worth checking out.
And I've got one. This is the explanation for Iceman. You ready? You ready?
Okay.
It's from Dustin B. He says, because last week we talked about what side character I think should get their own movie, and I said Iceman because a friend of mine had recommended this fantastic argument for Iceman as one of the strongest mutants. So he says, great pick on your sidekick to get their own show. Well, of course you would say that. It was really your pick. Yes, Bobby Drake, a.k.a. the Iceman, one of the original X-Men from when they started. Mm-hmm. First of all, the reaction from the other three hoes on Iceman's validation is exactly why he deserves his own movie or show. Nobody pays too much attention to him, yet Iceman seems to have more potential depth to his story than most Marvel characters. We all know Magneto and Xavier are Omega-class characters. We also know that Jean Grey and Legion have been classified as one. But if you know the Marvel lore, there is another hint. He is a pretty cool guy, quote unquote. See what he did there? The reason why he has flown under the gun with his power is because his level was discovered by Emma Frost when she possessed him and realized that his power was beyond human comprehension. Apparently not word comprehension either. Bobby just didn't know his full potential. Yes, Justin, Magneto can take the iron out of your blood and shred you with it. But not only can Magneto not find iron in Bobby's blood, a few issues about 10 years ago has Iceman freezing the blood flow to a part of villains' brains to rob them of their power. I could go on, but Marvel lore points to someone who has been in the Marvel Universe from the beginning before Wolverine and has shown character growth since then.
Oof. I didn't know Iceman was an Omega-class character, so that does change things, and I didn't read the one where Emma Frost possessed him and learned all this stuff. So that is interesting that his powers have been hindered by his own ignorance of what all they can do. So, all right, that opens the door to some interesting things. I'll let that one influence it a bit.
I just want to clarify, I don't know what any of that shit means, but it sounds fantastic. So make sure, don't stay through the credits for outtakes this week. Stay through the credits for our interview with Kiefer Sutherland, which you're about to hear in just a second. TheHollywoodOutsider.com is our website. Tweet us at H_outsider. Facebook.com/TheHollywoodOutsider. Leave us a message or text us, 818-814-6246. Please review us on iTunes. Give us a thumbs up on Stitcher. Email is feedback@TheHollywoodOutsider.com. And you can listen and subscribe while you're at iTunes or Stitcher or through our RSS feed. That's going to do it for this episode of The Ho. Thank you to Justin, Brian, and Scott.
Aaron, it is a pleasure to speak with you week in and week out. And while I know you have a lot of editing to do, I just would like to take this moment to tell you how great that I think you are and for doing all this hard work. You're such a champion to be doing all this, and I thank you. So you can edit all this out if you like.
I can never tell when your condescension starts where it stops. Brian, Scott, thanks, guys.
Right,
Thank you for having me, Aaron. It was a good time to be here. I'm not reading this either.
Klatus Barata Nixu.
And remember, the next time you guys go to a theater, buy popcorn. Damn it. Welcome to 24 Live Another Podcast, the officially unofficial podcast where we discuss the new Fox series 24 Live Another Day. Be sure to subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or your preferred podcast app. Give us a little rating. 5-star rating would be great on there while you're there. We are a member of the Hollywood Outsider Network and can be found online at thehollywoodoutsider.com/24. There's also the email at liveanotherpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions or thoughts on the show. Facebook.com/24 Live Another Podcast. As well as we're on Twitter at 24 Live Podcast. My name is Aaron Peterson, and this is a special episode of our show. See, we were invited to take part in a press call with Kiefer Sutherland himself. That's right, Jack Bauer, where we discussed him returning to his iconic role in 24 Live Another Day, as well as the series itself. Now, we know that every one of you that listen are diehard fans of the show, so we wanted to get some of this put up for use in an article. Mostly, you want to hear it for yourself. Now, keep in mind, this call consisted of various outlets, including ours, offering questions in a round-table style manner. So as most of this does not translate to audio, I will introduce each segment so you kind of know what that portion's about, and hopefully that'll keep the interview flowing a little smoother for you. I really hope you enjoy, and make sure you tune in to the 2-hour premiere of 24 Live Another Day on May 5th, 8 p.m. Eastern, or May 7th in the UK. Check your listings. Now, you guys can come back to our show anytime. We're going to be talking about the series through its entire run, so make sure you subscribe at iTunes or Stitcher, whatever you listen to. But right now, this episode is totally about Kiefer Sutherland himself, returning to the role. So listen into this first portion as Kiefer discusses fans asking for more Jack Bauer the world over, and why so many people relate to this character.
Well, I did a lot, and it wasn't just a question of whether or not 24 was coming back. I think it was more specific towards, when is it, because I think people were anticipating a movie. And then with regards to where, that's always amazed me. Even in the context of the promotion of another television show I did called Touch, where I would be in Russia, or I would, I'd gone to a lot of different places, been to South Africa. I was always amazed how successful the show was, and that it somehow managed to transcend kind of culture, language, politics, religion, et cetera, et cetera. I've never had another project that I've been a part of that has had that kind of international success, where arguably through Europe, Asia, and even parts of Africa, that was equally successful as it was in America, which I think is a really rare thing for an American television show. So I've always been surprised by that. It's also something I'm quite proud of. And then with regards to people kind of coming up, and it was either one of two things. They would either say, oh man, I really miss 24, and if they were going to say, when is it coming back, it was usually directed towards that of a film, meaning that the last thing I thought we were going to do is kind of another season. And I think fans were kind of surprised by that as well, and I hope in a good way. I think he's hugely relatable. Obviously the circumstances are massively exaggerated, but I think all of us on some level feel a connection to a character like Jack Bauer, because this is a guy who's facing insurmountable odds, and yet he goes into the fight regardless. And I think life kind of makes us feel like that too. Life is tricky, and I think the fact that he doesn't always win, in the context of the first season, he managed to save the president, he managed to get his daughter back, but he lost his wife. A guy goes and gets a promotion at work and is very happy for a few minutes, but then realizes he doesn't have time to take his son to football practice anymore. And I think there's a kind of reality in that not winning that makes Jack Bauer incredibly relatable. And this is also a character that is, I'm so sorry, after 9/11, I think there was a real feeling of helplessness. And I think Jack Bauer as a character was kind of dogmatic and regardless of the circumstances was going to push forward. And I certainly found that comforting, and I certainly felt very helpless after 9/11, and there was kind of great refuge for me in that character.
You guys excited yet? I am. Well, don't stop now, because there's more of Kiefer to listen to. Here he tells us if he would consider another 12-episode run of the series, what happened to that much-talked-about movie version of 24, and also how has Jack changed from the Jack we all know and love, and what are his motivations?
I would never say no, because it's just too easy for something to happen, but it is not something that I'm thinking about, and it's not something that I think Howard or anybody else is thinking about. I think once we realized we were going to do this, and we actually started the process of, obviously the writers with the scripts, John Cassar and myself doing our pre-production, we became so focused on trying to make these the best 12 episodes of 24 period that really has been, and we have 4 episodes left to do. I feel very, very strong about the first 8 episodes that we have completed. Now we just need to kind of really bring it home, and then we'll see where we're at. I would never want to say, no, I absolutely will not do that. This decision I made this time was really because of Howard's conviction that he had a great story to tell. So I spent my whole career with 24 dealing with 20th Century Television Production Company, 20th Century Fox Television Production Company, which is a very separate entity than the film company. And I dealt with the network. So there wasn't a lot of conversation with regards to the film other than we had expressed a real desire to make one. And I think that they were interested on some level, and for whatever reasons, and I have no idea whether it was our story, whether it was what they had already in stock and ready to go out, I couldn't exactly tell you why it didn't happen. I just know that it didn't, and then Howard obviously came to me with this idea for this one last season. But I couldn't exactly tell you why. 20th Century Fox is a very, very big company, and there are a lot of different divisions, and I've only worked with a few of them. And it wasn't something that ever got so far down the line that I could point to one specific reason as to why that didn't happen. I just know it didn't. I think there's a very strong moral compass with Jack Bauer, that he is going to, whether he is right or wrong, he is going to do what he thinks is the right thing. And he's going to do everything to the risk of his own life, that he's going to do that to try and prevent whatever situation this day brings from happening. Having said that, there's two things that are very different structurally from this season to any other. And one of them is that Jack Bauer has usually started off every season working within the infrastructure of whatever government agency he's a part of, or in line with the President of the United States. And then that might shift, but he certainly always starts there. This season, not only is he not working within the context of that infrastructure, that he's actually working on his own, but the people that he's trying to help are actually hunting him, and they're trying to either kill him or arrest him. And so that's a really interesting dynamic. On a much more kind of intimate character level, Jack Bauer is he's harder and I think angrier than he's ever been. He's had to hide in Eastern Europe for 4 years. He's been estranged from his daughter and his grandchildren. He has not been able to go back to the country that he feels he served. And that kind of isolation has made him really hard. And that is something that you'll see very early on in the first episode in the dramatically dynamic shift between the relationship between he and Chloe. And that's explained very early on.
So really, where does Jack Bauer fit in with today's dark anti-heroes, like Breaking Bad's Walter White, etc.?
I don't know. That remains to be seen. I think you're going to have to wait for that kind of reaction, because in all fairness, we had shot 5 months of 24 before the terrible events of 9/11, and after that terrible day. We personally thought that the show was over and we shouldn't do it because it was too close to something that had really happened. And we were very surprised to see the audience reaction and critic reaction to the show early on, that in somehow there was something that made Jack Bauer's character was quite cathartic and actually a positive influence. It was not what we were expecting. So in all fairness, it's going to be much easier to answer that question in the next few weeks. One of the things that I've always admired about Howard and Evan and Manny with their writing is that they do manage to have quite a very current political discussion within the context of the show. And even though it doesn't necessarily permeate my storylines, but we're dealing with Edward Snowden, we're still obviously dealing with torture, we're dealing with drones, and those conversations are being represented by kind of all sides. And so I think that that's a really interesting part of the show. And it'll be interesting to see how an audience processes that. I personally have to wait to kind of weigh in on that until that in fact happens, and that's going to start Monday. the opening threat is that he has uncovered a plot to kill and assassinate the President of the United States on British soil. And the fear of doing that, even if it's an ally, but the fear of doing that on foreign soil could be tantamount to a world war. And he thinks that the ramifications or the outcome of this event, if it were in fact to take place, would be global. He has a daughter and he has grandchildren who are alive, and those are some of the reasons that make him come out of hiding. He also has a profound respect for President Heller, and obviously Audrey, his daughter, is kind of the great love of his life. So, and those things all become addressed in the first 2, if not 4 episodes. But again, he believes that the threat that he's uncovered is so egregious that it could start a world conflict, and that is his initial desire to become involved.
Now, this is probably my favorite part of the entire call, as Kiefer discusses jumping back into the skin of the famous, and frankly now infamous, Jack Bauer. Take a listen.
Well, my first instinct is to tell you that it's really innate in me now at this time, but it wasn't true. I think one of the things that I had to fight the most was that when you put something away, like we had 24 and the 8 seasons of 24, and we put it away and we were done with it and kind of benchmarked it, and this is now has become a part of our life. It's not living anymore. You get very precious with it. And I think the most difficult thing for me in the 6 months leading up to shooting was kind of dealing with my nerves and realizing, we're opening this up again, and trying not to be scared of it and actually view this as a real opportunity to try and make the best 12 episodes. But I will be very honest with you. I was quite nervous leading up to it, and I was very fortunate to have John Cassar, our director, because I must have annoyed the life out of him. For the first 3 days, I kept walking up to him going, does that feel right to you? Does that look right to you? Does it sound right? All of this. And he was like, Kiefer, it's perfect. It's great. I wouldn't have moved on otherwise. Clearly, I didn't believe him. So he had to endure that for, a few days. And then there were a couple scenes that really, one of which I think they're showing a clip where I burst into this IT tech room and I have this scene with Chloe O'Brien and Michael Wincott's character. And there was something about the vocal dynamic. He comes in really hot in that scene and then kind of goes down to a really kind of almost a whispering tone. And that was something that triggered something for me that just kind of made me feel really comfortable and at ease. And then we kind of took off from there.
Now, Kiefer goes on to tell us in this section exactly what he wants the legacy of 24 to be in 20 years. See, 24 is an iconic show. It's been around for a while. But what does he want when people look back? What does he want them to see?
I would like it to still be watchable. I would like to have it, at least from a technical perspective, not be dated. I would like it, in 20 years, I would also like it to go back to what it was originally designed to do, which was be a piece of entertainment as opposed to something that was reflective of something terrible that had happened. So in 20 years, I hope that we as a planet are back to that place. And then I hope from a technical level and from a creative level that we've done it in a way that it is something you'll still want to watch. When I take a look at a movie like To Kill a Mockingbird, I can watch that movie. It being in black and white doesn't throw me. Its performances are outstanding. The story is really important and special, and it has not dated itself at all to me. I would like 24 to kind of be the same thing. And please know that I am not comparing 24 to Kill a Mockingbird. I'm just saying, in the sense of it not dating itself. I would like that very much.
As an actor that's been in this business for most of his life, if you remember, he started back in the 80s, and he's done series such as Young Guns, The Lost Boys, et cetera, et cetera. The guy has one of the most storied careers of any actor working, and frankly has had some of the most success of any actor working, because he's had success in film, and he kind of orchestrated that transition for film actors into the television mold. And he was the pioneer, so to speak, of that trend, which is now the trend. Kevin Spacey's on TV. All of these huge film actors are now on television. So take a listen as he talks about where he has experienced the most pressure as an actor in this business.
I would have to say it centers around 24. I think 24 came out in its first season, certainly by the end of the second season. And this happens very rarely, where you kind of captured lightning in a bottle. And I think there was a responsibility to its initial success to try and kind of constantly push to make it better. I know that Howard has felt that way. I know that John Cassar has felt that way. And the pressure is generally always kind of comes from within. It's never something that someone else necessarily makes you feel. It's a sense of obligation that you have to something that's giving you something. 24 has given me huge opportunities. It's been the great kind of education I've had as an actor. And so I think the greatest pressure that I've experienced is pressure that I've put on myself to try and make the show as good as we can possibly make it. I think that singularly is the thing that kind of stands out the most. I know that when we finished the 8th season, I think my shoulders dropped 3 inches because I knew that, in 3 weeks, instead of starting another season, I was not going to have to confront that again. And there was a relief in that, I have to tell you.
Now, for those who are unaware, 24 Live Another Day is based and filmed in the UK. Jack Bauer's on the run, and Her Majesty's soil is where he shows up to thwart an attack. Yet another attack. I am convinced if it wasn't for Jack Bauer, we would have blown up already. The entire world would just poof. In this portion, Kiefer discusses why they chose to shoot in the UK.
It made me smile. I mean, if there was a place that I thought, deserved kind of our attention, I thought London was it. And when I say, it was instrumental in the longevity of the show, it was a hit out of the box in London. It was a huge success. And as you guys all know, picking a show up for a second season is a monumental investment by a network, not just financially, but literally in every aspect. And I think 24 was on the fence, and its success kind of in other places in Europe and ultimately in Japan as well were instrumental in that decision to pick it up for a second season, which we were really grateful for. So, when I heard that we were going to shoot it in London, I thought, there was part of me that felt that was very fitting.
Do you ever wonder how much Kiefer relates to Jack Bauer himself and what he would do in a fight or flight scenario if he was in one? Well, now you're going to find out.
Well, I've thought about that in kind of trying to understand and develop the character. And because I'll be the first person to tell you, I am not Jack Bauer by any stretch of the imagination. But one of the things that I had to try and figure out to kind of help form the character was what would I do if someone threatened or endangered my family and more specifically my children. And that reaction is instinctual, it's guttural, and I would fight to the death for that. And so that was a real framework for me in developing the character, and that he feels this incredible sense of responsibility, that he does have a skill set that will allow him to kind of do a lot of things and conquer a lot of things. And when lives are at stake, and particularly in the context of our show, sometimes thousands of people's lives, he is very willing to die for that. That's something I admire in the character. For me, the easiest way to kind of access that thought was to just imagine something happening to, a threat to my children. And in that context, in the fight or flight, it would definitely be fight.
And finally, our last section, what about 24 and Jack Bauer keeps Kiefer Sutherland, the actor, coming back for more?
I love the character, and I love the idea of the show. I think I've said in many interviews when we started that the real star of the show is the time signature, because in the context of a thriller, which is the genre that this show falls in for me, that ticking clock, it really does matter. It makes you quite nervous. Inherently, it just does, because time is running out. So for all of those reasons, I found it fascinating. I also think John Cassar, as a director, shoots this in a way that is just intoxicating. And thrillers as a genre is the genre of movies that I like the most watching. I like them growing up. and take a look at films like The Bourne Identities. Those are films that I like watching now. This fits right into that category. So it's not only something that I think there is a great opportunity to do something really special, but it's also what I personally like. I find the dynamic of this kind of a show to be fascinating and interesting, and something I feel I understand. And so for all of those reasons, 24 is a really attractive thing for me to do. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, thanks for listening, guys. We thought you would enjoy that. We hope you got a lot out of that. And as a reminder, 24 Live Another Day is a 12-part event miniseries premiering this Monday, May 5th on Fox, with a special 2-hour premiere from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time. Now, 24 Live Another Podcast is a member of the Hollywood Outsider Network and can be found online at thehollywoodoutsiders.com/24. Be sure to subscribe. That way you'll get the show every week, because we're going to talk about this show. Every episode, we're going to talk. We'll see if we can get an interview or two. But mostly, we're here to talk about this series. What's going on, what we think is going to happen, how it's all going to end. That's what we're going to talk about. There will never be any spoilers. We will not look for any spoilers online, so you can always feel safe coming to 24 Live Another Podcast. We are in iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever your preferred podcast app is. You can email us at liveanotherpodcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook /24 Live Another Podcast, and on Twitter at 24 Live Podcast. We really want to thank all the fans out there. We've gotten a huge reaction from listeners to the show, as well as 24 fans themselves. So the fact that you guys are enjoying what we're trying to do, and you're enjoying the energy for the new show, is just exciting. We just can't wait for the premiere, for you guys to see it. So come back to the next episode where we talk about the premiere, which should be out in the next couple of days, if it's not out whenever you downloaded this. And remember, this podcast did occur in real time.